In Hong Kong, a new law has come into force, cloaked in the bureaucratic title of Article 23. The repressive legislation includes very vaguely worded propositions on actions such as secession and subversion. The Foreign Office has warned travellers to Hong Kong of the dangers that the law presents. Someone who knows about those dangers all too well is pro-democracy campaigner Finn Lau, who joins me now. Finn, welcome to GB News. Tell me, what does the new law mean?
I would say that the 2020 Hong Kong National Security Law, as well as the latest, the 2024 Safeguarding National Security Law, actually it means that all UK citizens could be affected because it is extraterritorial in nature. It applies to activities outside of Hong Kong. As long as you criticize the Hong Kong authorities or the Beijing regime or the Chinese Communist Party, then you could violate such a law.
So a UK citizen with no connection in his or her history to Hong Kong could find himself or herself in peril from this law?
Yes, it also includes social media posts. So in Hong Kong, in the UK right now, we got over 180 Hong Kong migrants. So actually this law is particularly affecting those migrants here in the UK.
Let's for the moment focus on what it will mean in Hong Kong. Does it mean that all dissent, all criticism has been snuffed out in Hong Kong?
Yes, I would say that because of these two national security law in Hong Kong and Beijing, actually there have been, the civil liberties, which was guaranteed under the Sino-British Joint Declaration, have been undermined. The civil society have been further collapsed. There is no independent judiciary system in Hong Kong anymore.
What has happened to the people who, like you, were campaigning?
Well, there are lots of incidents happened since 2019. So back in 2019, we got over 2 million people marching on the street of Hong Kong. And then, since then, I would say that the awareness towards the Beijing regime has been increased. On the other hand, because there are so many people advocating about human rights and democracy in Hong Kong, I would say that we are facing transnational repression issue. For instance, I was attacked and followed by suspicious people in the UK, in London, during the lockdown period. And I was beaten up as well. On the other hand, I was approached by some fake journalists before.
So you think there are Chinese agents operating in the United Kingdom and indeed elsewhere in Europe and across the world, looking at, keeping an eye on people like you?
Yes, true. For instance, I helped a documentary being produced, say, last autumn. And then I was approached by fake journalists who want to understand more about the twinning campaign between Chinese cities and UK cities. And there was a Chinese claim to be terrorist to broke into my briefing session at the Parliament as well.
How many of your former colleagues find themselves in prison at the moment?
Well, it's very difficult to count the exact number, but in Hong Kong right now we got more than 10,000 political arrests. We got more than 16,000 political prisoners, serving more than 100 years of total length of imprisonment. This is even more longer than Iran.
Can we expect more people, as you did, to come to Britain on their British national overseas passports from Hong Kong as this repression bites?
Well, I would say that the British national overseas passport is one of the UK passports and is somehow is a historical responsibility for the UK government to take care of the former colony. And under this visa scheme, I would say that more than 180,000 Hong Kong migrants have been benefited. And we are very grateful for this. Because of this BNO visa scheme, we are able to talk about Hong Kong issues. We could somehow voice out our opinions, although we are facing threats such as the latest security law, but we are so grateful for this.
There have been instances, have there, of so-called dissidents, people who've been campaigning for democracy, actually being kidnapped in Europe?
Yes, technically not in Europe, but in Asian countries. So we got a Hong Kong/Swedish citizen, Guai Manhoi, who got kidnapped in Thailand because of his, so-called, stance towards the Beijing regime.
If you went back to Hong Kong now, what would happen to you?
Well, if I went back to Hong Kong, if I go back to Hong Kong now, I could be put into jail for the rest of my life simply because of my policy advocacy for human rights, democracy, as well as sanction and other issues. So this is also applicable to all the other Hong Kongers, not just myself. So, or maybe even more than Hong Kongers as well, because as I've mentioned just now, as long as you are criticizing the Hong Kong government, you are violating such a law. So that's why, yeah, it's very, very ambiguous.
May I ask you, why did you choose to be an advocate? Why did you not choose a quiet life? You could be living quietly in Hong Kong, you could have said nothing at all, but you've chosen to be an advocate, which has obviously affected your life enormously because you've had to move your place of abode and you're in a certain amount of danger, as you say. Why did you make that choice?
Well, same as so many different people, I used to work for the construction industry, working for the infrastructure sector. But then back in 2019, I just feel that, well, I should have the backbone to say no to the dictatorship in Beijing. That's why I stand up. And then since then, I try to propose different kind of policy, such as sanctions, and human rights in Hong Kong. And also, on the other hand, well, I would say that security in the UK is also being threatened by the act of Beijing. We should, well, somehow counter this kind of encroachment by the Beijing regime here in the UK.
Well, Fin Lau, I really believe you do have backbone, and congratulate you upon it. Thank you very much indeed.